in the previous video, you have learned how to divide decimals by whole numbers. In this video, you're going to learn how to divide decimals by decimals. Now this one is a little bit trickier. Now you have two decimals to deal with and not just one. But it is not that difficult once you get the steps right and you're making sure you're not making any silly mistakes. Again, it is not a difficult one. This is designed to help you guys. So the first step one. Now this again, you should always estimate. I'm going to put that in here. Estimate, this is optional to estimate. Whenever possible, you should. Again, estimate, you can always estimate. This is like an optional kind of step. You do so. I'm gonna start again. So step really one would be to move the decimal. I'm just gonna abbreviate decimal point and the divisor. To make it a whole number. Now if you were to recall from the multiplying decimals video, you remember that we also had to move it, right? We wanted to make it a whole number. You times it by a multiple of 10, like 10, 20, 10, 100, 1,000, all that, right? You also don't really multiply by 20. It's always like 100, 10, 100, 1,000, all that. And so step two is then move the decimals. I'm going to again abbreviate here in the dividend. The same number of pieces to the right. So what do I mean by that? I know it's a little complicated. So that is what I mean is like if I have 180.2, I times it by 10, I get 182. So what I mean by that really is if the divisor, whatever I do to the divisor, I must do to the dividend. It must be equal. If I'm multiplying the divisor by 10, so that if it's 1.4, I times that by 10, right, to get 14, and then so I have to do the same thing as dividend, which let's say is 18.2, multiply the same thing times by 10. You'll see more when I do some examples. And 3, which I don't think I have enough room to write here. Rewrite, and solve. Feel free to copy these notes, pause the video, copy these notes. So after I change solve to divide to be a little bit more specific. So again, let's do some problems so this actually makes a little more sense. If I have the problem, let's read 18.20 divided by 1.4. First, if you're a little bit having trouble remembering what is your divisor, what is your dividend, right away it is really helpful just to rewrite it right away so you do not forget. So over here, let's on the side, let's make a note to yourself. This is the dividend, and this is the divisor. Now we should follow the first. So let's go back here. So the first step was to move the decimal point in the divisor so to make whole. So first thing we're worrying about is the divisor, because to divide any number by decimal is a little bit harder. So let's do that first. So how can we make this a whole number? Timesing it by 10. That would give us a 14. So now our new divisor is 14. Now, whatever you do to the divisor, you have to do it to the dividend, or else you're going to get that unequal balance, right? Whatever you do to the divisor, you have to do the dividend to remain equal. So 18.20. You don't have to write that 0. That wouldn't really change it, but I'm just going to write that. So I times that by 10. You can't really times this by 100 or whatever to remove the decimal. You have to write multiply by the same number, and that would give us 182 0.0. The 0 doesn't mean anything really, but we're going to put it in our rewrite and solve. So, whoops. So that would be 182 over 0, and that's 14 here. So since we do have decimal, so it doesn't have to always be 0. If it's like 5 or whatever, you can do the same thing. So we're going to get used to that. Put that decimal point, same thing what you did before in that dividing decimal by a whole number video. 14 can't go into 1. No, but it can go into 18 one time. Minus 14, that would be 4. Bring down that 2. I think we're going to run out of space, but that's all right. 0, we'll bring that 0 in. And so I'm running out of room, but it really wouldn't change your answer. 0, so it's 13.0. That's really your answer. If you really estimated this beforehand, you would have gone, okay, what is 20 divided by 1? That's 20. That would have given a rough idea, right? If you estimated it, but that's around the range. Okay, now let's do one more. And this one's going to be a little bit different. So this one's going to be different, and you'll see why. So 0.273 divided by 0.39. Let's label our divisors and dividends. So the first one is the dividend. This one's the divisor. Now, I can do that. And now here's the problem. I can't really do 0.139, right? Remember, we can't really do our divisor as decimal. So what we can do though right now, let's change it. So let's first, you always worry about the divisor. So in order to get into a whole number, I must times it by how much? 100. And that is, now the easier part about dividing decimals by decimals is in multiply, remember we have to remember, okay, if I multiply by 10, I divide by 10. In here, you don't have to do that. Because what we're doing, we're remaining balanced here, while on the multiplying we weren't. So if I'm timesing by 10, 100 on the thing, I'm also like dividing, timesing the dividend by 100. So I'm multiplying both by 100. So it really wouldn't change here. So it wouldn't change. It would remain equal and balanced. So that's the good part. So now we have our dividend, which is 0.273 times. Now you're going to solve this, and you're going to get 27.3. And you're going to be like, oh no, I have a decimal. I can't do it. That's time. Remember, in the dividing decimal by whole number, you can have a decimal in your dividend, right? It's not that big of a problem, but in divisor, it kind of is. So this is fine. It doesn't have to always be a whole number for the dividend, but for the divisor, it is important. So let's do this. Let's put our thing. So this will be 27.3. This is 39. Remember to bring your decimal up. And you can really estimate it right away. It's gonna be a number less than 1. Right away, you can realize that. Can't go into 27, but so I have to put the 0 there. And it could go into 273 though. 7 times. And if I get that, I get 273 minus perfect, it's 0. So our answer really was 2.73, 0.7 I had to do, right? Now, you don't have to multiply by, divide by 100, multiply whatever. Nothing, you have to do nothing like that, okay? So